Okay, good. You guys can start.
So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. As we gather here, it's evident that our workforce has become more diverse than ever. We recognize that diversity is not just a buzzword, but a cornerstone of our success. From the outset of our company has championed access to resources and opportunities for all employees, fostering an environment where everyone feels valued and included. Today, I'm thrilled to announce an important initiative that further solidifies our commitment to diversity and inclusion within the workforce. We are establishing a new resource group for the LGBTQ plus community. This group will provide a platform for members to share their experiences, forge meaningful connections, and foster understanding among their colleagues. We believe that by supporting initiatives like this, we not only enrich the lives of our employees, but also strengthen the fabric of our organization. Each individual brings a unique perspective and set of experiences to the table, and it's through initiatives like this that we can truly harness the power of diversity. Throughout today's meeting, we will discuss the significance of this new resource group, address any concerns or questions you may have, and outline ways we can all contribute to creating a more inclusive workplace culture. Thank you once again for being a part of this important conversation, and let's continue to work together towards a more inclusive and supportive environment for all. Now, without further ado, let's delve into the details of our LGBTQ plus employees resource group and how we can all play a role in supporting its success. Now we'll pass this on to Janaya.
Okay, I'll be looking over the table of contents on this presentation so we can have an overview on what's going on. So the first thing we'll be talking about our training mission so our employees knows what our company represents. Two, also what our objectives and also the statistics in regards to representation and diversity. Three, we're just gonna have a quick overview over about sexuality and gender identity for those who isn't sure about what is being talked about in this presentation. Number four, we'll be talking about inclusive language so we can understand what behavior and what type of conversation should be going on in the workplace. Number five is types of harassment. This is just to have a quick overview on what people might be doing or what you should be looking out for our peers. Six, we'll be talking about unconscious bias and allyship in order to understand not only ourselves in our subconscious situation and also what we can do for other people. Number seven is self ID forms and appropriate usage. This is just to have a quick overview of also what we should be doing with the information that we were given. And finally, we are going to watch a video and also scenarios so we can have a clear understanding and to see what have you understood in our overall presentation. I'll be passing on to the training mission.
Great. So our main training mission, our main goal is to foster an inclusive and diverse culture where all employees feel respected and empowered to be their authentic selves in the workplace. Some of the objectives of our training, inclusivity, so creating a safe space for members and allies, supporting diversity, inclusion, and equality, collaboration, so working collaboratively and collectively to implement policies and practices that promote LGBTQ plus inclusion, celebrating, so of course celebrating the achievements and contributions of LGBTQ plus employees within the organization, and also serving as a resource, so serving the employee seeking support and guidance related to LGBTQ plus matters. So since June 15th of 2020, the Supreme Court case, Bostock versus Clayton County, ruled that employees are protected against workplace discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity. And the case relates to an employee who was let go from their organization when their employer found out that they were a part of a gay sports league, I believe. And the protection was declared to be included in Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Next, we have a little video that'll go a little bit more in depth of that. Great. So next we'll go into a few statistics. The number of LGBTQ individuals in the US is expected to grow at a much faster rate than previous generations. If you could see just from 2012 to 2020, the percentage of the US population that identifies as LGBTQ plus nearly doubled, and it's definitely expected to grow more rapidly in the future.
Okay, going over labels and identities, we will first be talking about sexuality, which is an individual's sexual attraction, feelings, and thoughts towards someone. So, one of the first things we'll be talking about is heterosexuality, which is attraction to the opposite sex or gender. Then, homosexuality, which is attraction to the same sex and gender. Bisexuality will be attraction to both the opposite or same sex gender. And then there'll be pansexuality, which is attraction to all or most gender identities. And then asexuality, which is no attraction or little attraction to other people. And then queer, which is a label that was first used as a derogatory term. It is now taken back by the LGBTQ plus community as a form of label for themselves, which is someone who doesn't have a specific sexuality or gender identity. And for those who are a little bit confused with bisexuality and pansexuality, we will be talking about the gender identities. And then gender identity here will be an individual's personality and experience of gender, which is the social norms between being a man or being a woman. And this is different from sex or biology, which is identification of male, female, or intersex. First, cisgender would be the gender identity that corresponds to their sex. So if you identify as a man, which is corresponds to your sex, which is male, and if you identify as a woman, which is corresponding to your sex as a female. And then transgender is someone his individuality in regards to their gender identity is transitioning to one gender to another. And non-binary is a gender identity that does not correspond to gendered binary, which is again the social norms between like being a man or being a woman.
And then some inclusive language. The encouragement of the use of inclusive language in a company will make it seamless and really easy for people to communicate with each other and be respectful of each other. So for certain pronouns, just like Janaya said, if someone is cisgender or prefers a different gender than what they were given, making sure you're using the appropriate pronouns, he, him, she, her, they, them. And then also when you're referring to a group or talking to, your employees or a group of people, using folks, you all, or team.
So, types of harassment or discrimination for gender identity or expression. So, this could be by treating someone differently because they don't conform to gender stereotypes or other people's perceptions about how individuals of a certain sex should act or look. This could also be by persistently using the incorrect pronoun for a person who has asked to be identified in a certain way. Uh, Next, types of harassment or discrimination for sexual orientation and things like repeatedly referring to a person's sexual orientation could be a type of harassment. Making offensive comments about a person's sexual orientation could be another form, and expressing negative attitudes towards people of different sexual orientations in general. So, what is unconscious bias? It is beliefs or stereotypes that we are often unaware of that can have an influence on our perception, attitudes, and behavior towards another person or social group. And this stems from one's tendency to organize social worlds by categorizing. And everyone brings unconscious bias to the workplace. Some biases are based on sex, religion, race, age, disability, and other things. An example of unconscious bias would be a coworker may unknowingly make assumptions about coworkers based on things like their sexual orientation or how they dress, favoring people who are like you in some way. So challenging unconscious biases become a problem when we act on or use them to make unfair or unethical decisions. It's important to recognize and challenge the biases we all have. It's not always easy and sometimes uncomfortable. Overcoming our biases is key to creating a positive and productive workplace.
So how can you be an ally? First, you can understand what the lack of privilege looks like at work. For example, many marginalized communities face obstacles that make it hard for them to show up as their full selves at work. Two, educate yourself on the communities you want to support. Expand your cultural, social, and racial awareness. And then three, put your allyship into practice. Speak up when you encounter a bias. So we are excited to introduce a new self-ID program that focuses on LGBTQ inclusion. This program is designed to collect voluntary information from our employees about their sexual orientation and gender identity. We understand that this might be a new initiative for some, and we want to take a moment to explain why we believe this program is crucial for our organization. We are dedicated to creating a workplace where everyone feels valued and included. By collecting self-ID data, we can gain insights into diverse identities within our workforce, and then it enables us to tailor programs and policies that reflect our employees. It's important to note that the participation in the self-ID program is entirely voluntary. The information collected will not be used for hiring, staffing, promotion, or any employment-related decisions. Instead, it provides a valuable observation and insights into better understand and engage our workforce. The self-ID program aligns with our commitment to creating an inclusive workplace. We believe that by understanding and respecting the diverse identities within our organization, we can continue to build a culture that celebrates the uniqueness of each employee. So I'll just be going over the questions that will be on the self-ID forms. For sexual identity, for who you love, which of the following best describes you personally? And then those are the following following options. Gender, who you say you are. Then which of the following best describes you personally? And then those are the following options. And then it would be pronouns, what you want to be called. What are your pronouns? Gender identity, how you feel. Do you personally identify as transgender? And then I'll be passing it along to my colleague.
Okay. So the reason why do's and don'ts are being presented right now is so we can understand what we should be doing with the information given with the self-ID forms and what we should not be doing it. So first I'll be going over what we should be doing, which is using the pronouns respectfully and properly, which is just referring to your colleague as whatever pronouns they want to identify as. And even if you don't understand or isn't sure on why they are using those pronouns or identity, we should be respecting their point of view on what that pronoun is identifying themselves with. And then we should be creating a safe space for the community, which is just knowing on who's with you and if you want to have some sort of connection with your peers if you were part of the LGBTQ plus community. And lastly is remembering humanity at the end of the day. Even though they share their private information, they just want to be treated as a human being. They just want to do their job. They just want to be with other people without making themselves just their sexuality or their gender identity. And now we'll be going to don'ts, which is, again, even though the self-ID forms are voluntary, you should not be using their pronouns as a form of mockery, which is either just using the wrong pronouns at all or just simply making fun of the fact that that's what identity they have chosen to represent themselves. And second bullet point would be mentioning sexuality or gender identification in an uncomfortable manner. So, which is just like mentioning it out of nowhere for no reason at all, just some sort of like malice intent behind it, just to see if they're gonna have some sort of reaction or amusement. And lastly, we will be using sexuality or gender identity against others. So let's say if you have a fight with a colleague, you cannot just mention their gender identity or your sexuality against them. Or if something's going on, you shouldn't just be using their information against themselves as a form of attack.
So now we're just going to go over some questions and scenarios just to gauge your guys' understanding of the topic so far. So for the first question, how can we create an environment where LGBTQ plus employees feel comfortable being their authentic selves at work? If anyone wants to answer or has anything to say about this, feel free.
I'm Janai and I'll do it. What we can do is simply just treating them like everybody else, which is just being human, which is just like if you have a question about work, you just do your work. And that's it.
Yeah, definitely. Just really highlighting that although we might be different, that doesn't affect how we do our work or how we do our jobs or anything like that. And then for scenario one, a new project is announced requiring cross-departmental collaboration. An employee named Taylor, who is heterosexual, is chosen to lead the project team and handpicks members based on their perceived compatibility and work styles. However, when forming the team, Taylor intentionally excludes Sam, an openly gay colleague, citing vague reasons such as not the right fit or not having relevant expertise. Despite Sam's proven track record and qualifications, Sam suspects that their sexual orientation may be a factor in Taylor's decision, as they have previously witnessed Taylor making disparaging remarks about LGBTQ plus individuals in casual conversations. So do you guys think this is discrimination?
I believe it is discrimination because Taylor is also has a track record of making uncomfortable remarks with the LGBTQ plus community. And if he's very vocal about his opinions about that community, then I'm sure it has something to do with why Sam is excluded.
Yes, definitely. You are correct. And then for scenario two, a new project is announced that requires cross-departmental collaboration. An employee named Sam, who is openly gay, notices that they are not included in the initial project team selection. However, upon further inquiry, Sam learns that team members were chosen based on specific skills and expertise required for the project. The project lead explains that while Sam's skills are valuable, they are currently assigned to other critical projects and their workload would not allow them to commit fully to this new project's demands. Do you guys think this is discrimination?
I wouldn't think this is discrimination just because there's a valid reason why he's not part of a project. Because let's say if it's a finance department mixing with management, if you're just going towards a financial project, but then they're doing a managerial project, you're more likely to just stick with your skills that you're very good at rather than trying something new.
Yeah, exactly. This was not discrimination. And then before we wrap up, I wanted to let you all know about an exciting opportunity we have coming up. We are going to have a quiz related to the topics we discussed today about the LGBTQ plus employees resource group. So I just wanted to go over some of the details with you guys. So the number of questions, it will be a 50 question quiz. The format will be in multiple choice format. To successfully pass, you will need to receive or achieve a score of 90% or higher. and you will have about approximately 1 hour to take the test. Make sure to answer all the questions, take your time and review your answers before submitting. This quiz is a great chance for us to reinforce what we've learned today and ensure that everyone is on the same page when it comes to supporting diversity and inclusion in our workplace. And then some of those sample questions include, what should you do if you witness or experience LGBTQ discrimination in the workplace? A, ignore it and hope it goes away on its own. B, report it to your supervisors or HR department. C, confront the perpetrator publicly in front of coworkers. Or D, resign from your position immediately. So for this one, it would be B, report it to your supervisor or HR department. And then the next question, what should you do if you accidentally misgender a colleague? A, laugh it off and ignore the mistake. B, pretend it didn't happen and just move on. C, apologize sincerely and correct yourself. Or D, blame the colleague for not being clear about their gender identity. And yes, this one would be C, apologize sincerely and correct yourself. And then finally, LGBTQ individuals are protected from discrimination in the workplace under many jurisdictions, laws, and regulations. This one is true. And then here are our sources. And just as we wrap up our meeting, I just wanted to say a big thank you to every one of you for being here and participating in today's discussion. Your openness and engagement means a lot to the company, and it's what really makes our workplace so special. I hope you found today's conversation about LGBTQ plus employees resource group insightful and meaningful. Remember, supporting diversity and inclusion is something we all play a part in, both inside and outside of these meetings. If you have any questions or you want to get involved with the LGBTQ plus employees resource group, don't hesitate to chat with your HR rep because they're here to help. Thanks again for your time and energy, and let's keep working together to make our workplace even better, more inclusive space for everyone. Have a fantastic day, and thank you.